So once you placed your objects on the plane, we're on page 390, selecting and transforming objects in perspective. So you have your tool, two shapes there. So we're going to position our pointer over the perspective grid tool, and nested behind it is perspective selection tool. And it looks like a box with a triangle. And we're going to click the triangle that's light gray fill on the right to select it. This guy here. And with the perspective selection tool, say that 5 times fast, we're going to drag the middle point here until the measurement label shows about 3, of width of 3. There you go. Dragging a shape or resizing it will do in a perspective with the perspective selection tool. You can't use a regular selection or direct selection tool. You have to use perspective selection tool because you want it to work on the perspective grid. So with the PST, or the perspective selection tool, click the first rectangle you created right here. We'll click on the word transform in the control panel up here. And we're going to change the reference point indicator to the right middle. As you can see it right there, if you look at the picture in the book, but also my screen right there. We're going to deselect the constrained proportions. So we're going to uncheck this lock, and we're going to change the width to 1.5 inches if necessary. If aside from scaling artwork or performing other transformations, you can drag artwork in the perspective selection tool. So we're going to go to select. We're just going to do select over here and do Command S to save. So we're on top of page 391, moving planes and objects together. Selecting the zoom tool, click on the bottom of the perspective grid twice. So kind of up and close. With the perspective selection tool, we're going to position the pointer over the left grid panel control, which is actually located on the right. This guy here. Double click. It opens up this box and it says left vanishing plane. We're going to go to move all objects. We're going to change the location to -0.15 inches. And we're going to click OK. So it shifts everything. The left vanishing dialog box, the do not move option, allows you to move the grid panel. You notice there's going to be a little bit of a space. So with the perspective selection tool, we're going to drag the right middle point of the dark gray rectangle to make it narrower. So the width is approximately 1.39. Take this over here, drag it a little bit to 1.39. Next, we're going to draw artwork on the active grid. So we're going to take the rectangle tool, keyboard shortcut M. I'm going to select the no active grid in the widget. So it's kind of that big circle right there. We're going to position the pointer over the right corner of the dark gray left plane. It says anchor. We're going to click and drag down to the right, snap to the lower left corner of the right plane. So we're just going to pull it right there. So it kind of like has a beveled edge. And we're going to make this swatch 20. Escape, Command S to save. Adding and editing text in perspective. Select the Type tool and click on the blank area of the artboard that's not in the grid and type AMP for AMP, all caps. So we're going to change the font to MyRad Pro. Make sure our font style is regular and our font style is actually 16. Makes it teensy tiny. With the Perspective Selection tool, we're going to press the number 3 key on the keyboard to make sure we're on the right grid. And we're going to drag the text to the upper right corner of this box. So we want to just kind of sort of click and drag it. And it kind of adjusts the scale for it. So now after we've done that, we're going to take our cursor before the word amp, write the word guitar. So you may want to undo that. Actually, I'm just going to do it beforehand because it doesn't want to work. Place it there. So on page 393, moving objects in a perpendicular direction. So we're going to click and hold down the rectangle tool to select the ellipse tool, keyboard shortcut L. And I'm going to zoom out a little. We're going to make sure the shift plane is on, so make sure the right plane is selected on the plane switching widget, which is orange, and our box there is orange, and that's what we want. I'm going to shift and drag a small circle that has a width and height of 2 inches. And we're going to release the modifier key. So we're going to hold down Shift, click and drag, and we want it to have a width and height of about 2 inches. That's as close as I can get. Press D to apply the default stroke and fill. Change the fill color actually to none in your control panel. And make sure that stroke weight is actually 10. Right there. With the Perspective Selection tool, drag the circle to roughly about the center. That's about the center. So now we're going to go with the Perspective Selection tool, kind of still selecting it. We're going to go to Edit Copy and Edit Paste in Front. With the new circle selected, we're going to click the word Transform. We're going to make sure Constrain Proportions is selected. The reference point is that middle right. We're going to change that width actually and height to 1.3. Right there. To ensure the smaller circle is positioned roughly around the figure on the right, so it looks about that. With the perspective selection tool selected, right there, we're going to hold down the number 5 key and drag, holding down 5, drag the smaller circle by its stroke to the left a bit. This looks a little bit like the following figure, and click and release. Ooh. Down. I'm a little trouble moving it, so I just kind of shift and dragged it with the 5 key. The 5 is going to help it move perpendicular, but it did not want to work for me, so I just kind of shifted it. So object, go to object, arrange, bring to front. To bring that to the front, I'm going to select, deselect, Command S. So we're going to put an end to this video, and then we're going to wrap it up in the last video.